Hi guys, welcome back. We are on Chapter 7, Part 2 of The Barren Grounds by David A. Robertson. So we have had Morgan has fled upstairs in the house, dealing with a whole bunch of emotions, just feeling anger, hurt, turmoil, just confusion, loneliness, lack of love. She's just dealing with so much right now. And so she's fled into the house and she's gone up to the attic where she's not supposed to go. However, she's up there and she really wants to find a spot that is her own, where she can be by herself. But she says Eli's allowed to come, so that's nice. So she notices in the attic that there was a door that had been painted over. And so she tries to open the door and she can't. So she takes a box cutter and cuts the edge out of the paint so that the door can open between the door frame and the paint seal. So she gets that open, and so she's done that, and now it's open. So we're on page 57. We're going to start at the bottom paragraph here with Morgan. Morgan started at the bottom left corner and worked her way up. The paint was hard and thick, and it felt like she was sawing through wood. Still, as the minutes passed, she made progress. Up the side, across the top, and down the opposite side. In less than 10 minutes, she pushed the blade through the last bit of paint, and she stood up to regard her work triumphantly. Semi-triumphantly. Anybody would totally see that the paint had been cut away. All right, so there's no hiding what she's done. She'd worry about that later. Morgan put her hand on the doorknob again, twisted and pulled. The door jolted like it was grasping to life as the latch bolt released. She pulled the door open and was greeted by a waft of stale air. She couldn't see anything inside the room. It was pitch black. She stood a few feet from the dark space and stared into it. She waited for her eyes to adjust, but the room stubbornly remained a mystery until she turned her phone's flashlight on. Inch by inch, left to right, the room revealed itself. Some mystery. It was just more unfinished attic space, about the size of her bedroom. The wall to her left followed the slope of the roof, while the one on the right was just beams and plywood, the other side of it being the stairwell. The wall facing Morgan showed the brick outline of the house chimney. Courageous with the flashlight, Morgan entered the room, sat down facing the sloped wall, and propped up her phone against the wall at her side. And that was that. She would stay here until the phone died. Morgan hugged her knees to her chest and buried her face between them, acting like an ostrich again. She tried not to think about anything, but it didn't work. The entire day kept forcing itself into her head, mostly breakfast and dinner. I should just not eat again. Problem solved, she grumbled, and the tears came back. The only difference now was that she wasn't sobbing. She was too tired to sob. The tears just kind of fell, and Morgan didn't care much for them to stop. She was also too tired for that. After a while, she heard the door open to the second floor and footsteps leading to one of the bedrooms. Katie's, she guessed. The same footsteps started up the stairs on their way to the attic. Great, she whispered without lifting her head. She knew she'd left the door open, which defeated the whole purpose of having a secret room. What kind of secret room was it if you forgot to shut the secret door? When the footsteps reached the top of the last flight, she busily wiped her eyes and cheeks against her knees, removing the evidence of her tears. The footsteps stopped at the attic door, and she looked up to find Eli standing there, looking at her, carrying his drawing pad. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she said, giving her eyes one last wipe, this time with her sleeve. She sniffled, just in case there was any snot coming out her nose. "How'd you know I was up here?" "Everybody knows you're up here," he said. "You were loud." "Oh," Morgan buried her face again. "Are they mad?" "I think you're getting a pass," he said. "I don't deserve a pass," she said. "I'm a jerk." "Sometimes, maybe." She heard him enter the room and walk towards her, and she felt the floor compress with each footstep. She felt his shoulder brush against hers as he sat beside her. She kept her head down. She didn't want him to leave, but she didn't want to say anything. He must have known that, because he didn't say anything either. They just sat there on the floor in the secret room as the battery life of her cell dwindled. Sometimes that's the best way to support someone, is just to sit quietly with them as they go through whatever it is that they're going through. They don't need you to say anything, to do anything. They just need you to be there. And I think for somebody like Morgan, she really needs people to be there for her. And that's what Eli is doing right now. And so are Katie and James, but just in a different way. They're being there for her right now by giving her her space, letting her deal with whatever she's dealing with. And they're also being there with her right now by not saying, "Okay, you're out, get out of our house," kind of thing. Okay? Oops. Sometime later, Morgan sighed. "The last place I was at," she said, "they used to tell me I was part of their family. I was there for almost 2 years, I think. They had 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and a dog too, Juby. That was the dog's name. Did you ever have a dog, Eli?" He nodded. "What was its name?" she asked. "Red," he whispered. "Their family, my foster mom's parents, lived in another town. It was like 3 hours away. They'd go visit every other weekend. My foster parents, the kids, Juby. But I never got to go. They'd put me in respite care, get another family to look after me, while they were gone." Morgan wiped a tear away from her cheek with her knee. "They took the dog, but not me." Finally, she looked at Eli. "The last time they went away, I took off. Nobody found me for a few days. I don't know when they even started looking." She chuckled. "I wasn't hiding. I was just running, you know?" "Yeah," he said. She ran her hands through her hair, pushed loose strands behind her ear. She smiled at Eli because he looked like he wanted to cry too. "I think I wanted them to want me. Funny, right? I wanted them to want me, so I ran away." She shook her head. "Stupid. Anyway," she clapped her hands to snap them both out of it. "They didn't. And here I am." "You're not going to run away from here, are you?" Eli asked. "No," she assured him. "I'm not going to run away." "Good. I'm just going to move up here for like ever." "They're not going to get rid of you." "Maybe. But if you're going to stay up here, I made you a housewarming gift." Eli picked up his drawing pad from the floor. He opened it to the first page. He was being dramatic about it. The big paper was facing him, and Morgan couldn't see what he'd drawn. She tried to snatch it from him, but he pulled it away. "You don't tease a girl who's just had a meltdown, you know," she said. "Okay, fine." He turned the paper around to reveal his work. Morgan gasped when she saw it. Not that it was scary or shocking, but it was such a wonderful picture. "When did you even draw this?" "Katie and James went into the kitchen and were whispering to each other for a long time," he said. "I got bored." "Can I?" Morgan reached with both hands for the drawing pad. Eli let her take it. She placed the pad on her lap, picked up her cell phone, and shone the light on the drawing so she could see every detail. An animal being, Morgan wasn't sure what kind of animal, was walking through a field, its arm raised to shield its face from the wind and whipping snow. So it's walking and it's blocking the wind and the snow from hitting its face. Funny, its tracks were coming from a village in the distance. It wasn't going towards it. The village, all the way across the field, was nestled against a forest that stretched from one end of the drawing to another. There were no lights in the houses. There were lights in the houses. As she looked intently at the illustration, she started to hear the same beats from that morning, as if it wasn't a drawing at all, as if the beast was walking right towards her. Then she realized that she wasn't hearing the animal walking. Again, the sound was just her heart pounding. "There was no wind," Eli said. "Huh?" Morgan tore her eyes away from the picture, but kept the pad open and on her lap. "When I was drawing it," he said, "there was no wind." Maybe what?" she asked. "Maybe it wasn't coming from the paper," he admitted. "And you're sad about that?" she asked, because he did look sad. "You wanted your paper to be haunted?" He shook his head. I guess not." "Exactly," she said. "Magic is best kept to books. Plus, magic drawing pads that shoot cold air? That's lame." She held the pad up, inspected the drawing again, and this time heard no heartbeat, no footsteps through snow, and there was no cold air coming into the real world. Everything that it was right there in front of her. The only mystery was the animal, because that was just because she didn't know it. She asked Eli. "That's a fisher," he said. "You saw them where you live?" She corrected herself. "Lived?" Maybe she shouldn't have. He slumped. "Yeah, I saw them out in the bush when I was hunting with... Never mind. I saw them." "Did this come from a story you know?" "No," he said. "I just kept drawing it. I didn't know what I was drawing. I had this picture in my head all day." All right, so we have this picture Eli has drawn of a fisher walking upright through the snow away from a village. Towards, well, it looks like towards Eli and Morgan, towards whoever has drawn the picture. And Eli's a little bit sad that when he was drawing the picture this time, no cold air came off of it. All right, guys, that's the end of this video. We'll continue on with chapter 7 in the next one. Okay, take care.